Hi, welcome to part two of the presentation. So we were talking about how the experiences of children in early childhood are very profoundly impactful to their development. And we know that now from the massive research that we've got on ACEs. And I say massive because 20-ish years ago, we didn't have that kind of research to back up what we were saying. We had some research, but it wasn't as clear as the research on adverse childhood experiences. And it's really amazing to have someone like Nadine Burke Harris as the Surgeon General of California, because she's implementing systemic processes to really look at that and look at how we can support children and their families when they're young. So that's really the purpose of this class is how do we protect children, all children, but especially children in threatening environments from serious emotional or behavioral consequences. And we do that by forming our secure attachment with them and really focusing on that environment of responsive relationships, as well as really building relationships with their family members and their caregivers. We really need to build their support and help them call on their natural resources and resilience to support themselves and support their children. So that's where we involve them. We also need to ensure that mental health services for parents actually integrate the needs of children. We need to make sure that credentialing programs or licensing programs, master's programs in family therapy include courses on child development. They don't. Neither do lots of credentialing programs for elementary school teachers, which makes no sense, but it's true. We need to increase family support. Portola Family Connections is a wonderful place in the city where parents can get support while their children get support, and there's play intervention with a therapist. Child development non-credit classes are free at City College. They're called child observation classes. So caregivers, any caregiver, a parent, a grandparent, can come with their child. They stay, and there's a professor there to provide child development information, but mostly it's really about supporting and facilitating the relationships between parents, because we know that's what's going to help their children if they have a strong community. Well, between parents and caregivers, I should say. So that's one strategy and a really great resource in the city. We would like to increase children's and educators' access to mental health professionals in preschools, and this could help lead to decreased expulsion rates. We'll talk about that a little bit more in this module too. So we used to have a half an hour every week or two that we discussed 3 children in a half an hour at our preschool. And so we would just talk about a child, what was going on for about 5 minutes, and the psychologist would ask us questions. And the child always ended up doing better after that. And I think it was because everyone at the preschool was then paying attention and being more responsive and understanding to that child. Recognize cultural differences and attitudes and beliefs. So in many cultures, in the Western culture, I'll just say, is that it's more focused on the individual and the individual surviving like sort of by themselves. Whereas in more collective or group-oriented cultures, the focus is more about the group. So we both need to think about the impact of our intervention on a child within the context of their family and how that behavior is going to be interpreted by the family. We need to help family and caregivers understand what it means for a child to be in a Western culture that's supporting their independence as opposed to their interdependence. And we need to help people find a balance in their families and create a new culture, because that's really what they're doing. They're creating a new culture based on a combination of other cultures. And if we can really help people honor their home culture, especially people of color, and their ways of being in the world, because those are so valuable and they're so undervalued and maligned in the dominant Western culture. So that's another piece. The other piece is that's related to culture and mental health is there's a lot of shame sometimes about seeking services. So I will say that I've had therapy during my life at some times, and it's been very helpful for me. That doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It actually means that you're quite healthy if you can seek support when you need it. I think we have to question medication and diagnosis. It's not a never for me, but like the story about a 1.5-year-old being diagnosed with bipolar, or the tens of thousands of stories of children being misdiagnosed and mismedicated for ADHD when it might be trauma or other post-traumatic stress disorder. We actually give medications that have only been tested on adults, and that doesn't make any sense. We don't know what the long-term effects are. So I think if we could develop a better understanding in mental health professionals about normal emotional expression in children and how to provide holistic interventions, we would go a lot further in providing for children's needs and really providing that support. Okay, so I'm going to see if I can pull up this video clip. I don't think it's going to let me. It's not going to let me, but I'll keep talking right now. And because I'd like to watch this video together, and I'd like us to watch how they facilitate this. It's not letting me do the right one, but how they facilitate this intervention for children and families. All right, actually, never mind. I'm just gonna embed that.
Hi everyone. This is
Oh, jeez.